Everybody, today we are going to create a new task. We're going to call it auto tag orders by with their tracking numbers. I think that's what we're going to call it. Regardless, this is the point. Take the tracking numbers applicable to an order and put them on the order. So what we're going to do is run this. Well, what we're first going to do is decide when to run this. A tracking number comes with an event or with an order fulfillment. And so probably what we want to do is run whenever a fulfillment is created or updated. Probably. I don't think, no, the tracking number can change. I've encountered that. So we do want to run both on create and update. Probably what we'll do is, run, we'll run when it's created and updated, and then every time that happens, we'll take the tracking number for the current fulfillment and ensure that the order has that tag, and if not, we'll apply that tag. We could use this opportunity to scan all fulfillments for the order, but because a mechanic will be informed of every fulfillment on the order at all times, for new orders anyway, we can be assured that we'll see both the creates and the updates for all new fulfillments ever, as long as the task is running. We'll probably want to add a manual mode where we scan existing orders as well to backfill all the tags with the existing tracking numbers, but that comes later. So let's start here on create and on update, and we see that our events are being previewed over here as well. Our preview data is going to look something like this. We're going to grab the tracking, not the tracking URL, but the tracking numbers. Pretty sure there's only ever one tracking number per fulfillment. Let's take a look at the GraphQL API to verify that. I think the option to have a plural figure here is a relic of the REST API. Let's take a quick look. If you haven't seen this before, the graphical app is something that's maintained, I think, by the community behind GraphQL itself. And it's a really good way to explore the Shopify API. So let's take a look here. Query. We have some orders already in place. I can fill in a dummy fulfillment from here. And actually, as long as we're doing that, let's do a quick echo just to show us what this event looks like. This, by the way, is needlessly verbose. We can achieve the same thing by doing this, event, and then removing the end tag. Exactly the same usage, much smaller code. So we'll save this, and right now all this thing will do is effectively log every single fulfillment event that comes through. We'll update our permissions. Update app. Okay. And over here, we will actually fulfill our short sleeve t-shirt. We're going to set our tracking number to ABC123. Fulfill. Oh, I think that actually may not have done that. A second ago it said no shipping required. So that just may have appeared in the tracking notes or something as opposed to in the actual tracking number. But here's the fulfillment that was just created. And we can see, oh no, it did fill it in, ABC123, cool. So that is where we can expect to look, but I still want to answer the question of what happens with the number of tracking numbers available. So we're gonna say GID, Shopify, order this. I used command enter to autofill this, by the way. So we have ID, we have our fulfillments. I'm gonna grab tracking info, and it looks like, yeah, there's only ever one number per fulfillment. So this is the GraphQL invocation for figuring out what that number actually is. For here, we can just say, looks like we can just say fulfillment.tracking number because that's a property right on top of the fulfillment itself. And we can use the fulfillment variable because Mechanic makes available the singular version of this as something we can actually work with, and it contains the data that came in from Shopify. So in our case, what we can do is something like this, and we can do this just for debugging or for logging again. Tracking number, fulfillment dot tracking number, and we can see that it's already filled in here. This is using the event that actually just came in. Mechanic will use the most recent event for a given topic when rendering a preview. This one is using some dummy data, it looks like. And we can see here that fulfillment is available as a variable that we can actually use, confirming our usage right here, fulfillment.tracking number. Cool, so we're in a pretty good place right now. What we want to do is take a look at the fulfillment variable itself in Mechanic and see if we can get to the order from that, because the next thing we want to do is take a look at order tags. So we're going to look at the, do we not have a fulfillment object here? Oh, apparently we don't have documentation for that. That's absolutely a failing in our documentation. Okay, cool. Well, let's test this. So action echo order tags fulfillment order dot tags. Let's see if that works. Now we're receiving a null right here, when at least we should get an empty string. However, as noted here, during task preview, access to the Shopify API is disallowed. That's a performance thing more than anything. We need previews to render very, very quickly, and so API access is turned off, but only during previews. So we can actually run this and see, we need more access because we're looking up order information now. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, update app. All right, and we will update this fulfillment maybe, edit tracking number, save. Okay, and we should get an event in a second showing us that a fulfillment was updated. Here we are. Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. So order tag is ready to ship. That did actually work. Ready to ship was a tag that was already on the order. So this is great. So what we can do is say assign order tags equals that, and we'll split it by the comma to make sure that we have an actual array of order tags. And we can say unless order tags contains the tracking number that we have on hand, we'll do our actual tagging. The best way to run tagging is with GraphQL itself. And I'm going to grab a quick chunk of GraphQL from our documentation here. So we'll grab this action right here, mutation tags add. We'll throw in the admin or the orders admin GraphQL API ID. We'll add the fulfillment tracking number as a tag, and that'll be our action. This needs to be the order admin GraphQL API ID. And this will be the tracking number to add. Cool. Okay, cool. So the basics are done, but we are not yet finished. First things first, if we look over here in the preview, we see that our ID is null. This is important. If I handle this poorly, I'll save this. Mechanic will tell me that we no longer need importantly, what Mechanic won't do is ask me for permission to write to orders. And it's doing that because there's nothing about this that is specific to an order. The tags add mutation depends on the ID, or rather Mechanic depends on us to provide it a preview ID so it knows what we're actually trying to tag so that it can ask for appropriate permissions. So what we're going to do is in preview mode, we're going to create a brand new order object. Actually, we're going to create a brand new fulfillment object, which will contain an order object. So assign fulfillment equals hash, assign order, and then this will contain some tags. But what I'm doing right here is filling in some data that I want to use for testing. And then our order needs a GraphQL API ID. Okay, sweet. And then now that I'm seeing this is still null, which means this variable is wrong. Better, there we go. So the utility of this is in the fact that we get to say exactly what data is used to generate our preview, which means we can use this as kind of a live test to see what's going on. For example, if I were to remove this, our ID goes away, which means that we would have a problem with mechanic and permissions if that was actually gone. We'll put that back in here. And now I can do live tests on things like this. I can say, if that tag is actually there, then no preview actions are generated, which is perfect. We know that we won't, we know that we won't generate any tagging actions if the order has already been tagged with that tracking number, which is exactly what we want. The next thing we need to test is what happens if there is no tracking number. Currently, we're just adding a blank tag, which is nonsensical. So what we're going to do is say, oops, also oops, if this is not blank, okay, perfect. So now if it's blank, none of this will happen, and if it's already tagged, none of that will happen. So that's the thing. If I fill this in, perfect. We're tagging accordingly. If I fill that in with the same thing, perfect. Okay. We are in very good shape. If I hit save, we should ask for additional permissions to write tags to the order, or rather just to write orders in general, motivated by our need to write tags. I'll update my permissions someday. Update app. Cool. And now if I come back over here and I fulfill this other item, and I hop back over here and I scroll down, we immediately see that a fulfillment was created and that we tagged the order with heyo. And if I come back over here and I hit refresh, we should see, yep, that tag in place right there. And if I were to edit this tracking number, and head back to the task itself, any second we should see an event that says that fulfillment was updated, and then we'll be adding that tracking number as well. Assuming that works out, we're done with the first part of this task, which is just to respond to fulfillment creates and updates. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Our first piece is done. The next piece is to scan all orders and tag them accordingly. Okay. For that, we are probably going to want to use the bulk API. And I'm pacing my syllables there because there are three different ways to go around, or to go about querying Shopify. And one of them is through Mechanics Liquid API, where we would be doing something like for order in shop.orders.ne, and that would allow us to loop through every single order that exists for a shop. That can be a really large number. And with the REST API, which that API uses in the background, or which the Liquid usage uses in the background, we'll be pulling down every single attribute for every single order, and that can take a very large amount of time and a very large amount of memory. It's not a great way to do it. GraphQL allows us to do things a little bit more quickly by being more specific about what data we're actually interested in. Vis-a-vis, we could only pull down order IDs, order tags, and then fulfillment tracking numbers. Much more streamlined and therefore faster. However, if we're dealing with stores that have like millions of orders, that can still be very, very time consuming and memory consuming and all kinds of things. Not to mention the fact that it'll exhaust the Mechanic API limit for that particular account, which would result in other tasks being starved from the Shopify API. So what we're going to do here is use GraphQL with bulk operations. And here's how this is going to work. So we're first going to say that we want this thing to run when the user triggers it. And that task topic is mechanic/user trigger. And that results in a run task button appearing here. We are also going to want to respond to Shopify having completed the bulk operation. And that notification comes in with this event topic. Brief bit of background. A bulk operation, with capital letters, is a chunk of GraphQL that we send off to Shopify to evaluate. And after they've executed, no matter how long it takes, Shopify lets us know, and that we let our task know, and then we can process the data that has actually been assembled for us. So what we're going to do is now split this task into two pieces. We're going to say if event.topic equals not that. If we're going to say contains Shopify, and this will match both create and update, which is exactly what I want. Else if, okay, and then we need one more of these for the bulk operation itself. All right. Note, this begins with mechanic and not with Shopify, because it's mechanic that actually generates this event and not Shopify. There isn't currently an official Shopify webhook for, hey, your bulk operation is done. And so in the interest of being able to use this kind of thing anyway, we invented our own for mechanic. So here, we are actually going to send off our bulk operation to Shopify. I'm going to use graphical to assemble that. So we're going to say query orders. For the sake of this context, I'm going to fill in first. Although when we actually send this off to Shopify, this won't be necessary. So we're going to say that we want our order ID, we want some tags, we want to look at our fulfillments, and we want to look at the fulfillments tracking numbers specifically. And most of our orders have nothing except for this one that we were testing that has 2. Perfect. Okay, so this is our query. We can head this or put this over here. Let's see. Okay, so querying Shopify. This help document gives us a quick sample usage, and we can already see that it looks really similar to what we're doing here. We've got 2 different stanzas for what happens when we're triggered and what happens when the bulk operation comes back. So first we're going to copy this structure, and we're going to grab our query from over here. And it's almost as simple as this example. Get our indentation straight. I'm going to remove that. Cool. So this is a query that pulls down all orders, specifically grabbing their ID, their tags, and then the tracking number for every fulfillment. And then this chunk of code creates a Shopify action wherein we send off that query to Shopify for execution. And when this comes back, we'll have this thing over here. Now, completion of this event, or rather the arrival of the bulk operation event, gives us one more variable, and I actually don't know why it's not appearing right here. That's interesting. Regardless, I happen to know that it is called bulk operation, and we can see that right here. And the capitalization is different here, bulk operation, capital O, because we're now edging into territory where GraphQL reigns, and GraphQL always uses that camel casing. So for the purposes of testing, I'm going to say we're going to action echo bulk operation.objects, and that will give us just a quick idea of what is actually contained in the results of our bulk operation. Right now this is null because we actually don't have anything to work with here. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit run task. Cool. This action dispatched the bulk operation to Shopify. Long story short, when this bulk operation completes, we'll see a children event or section over here because we will have spawned a child event. And when that comes in, we'll be able to click on it. While we wait for that, because that could take up to a minute to actually return, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to start composing this section right here. So bulk operation.objects I know is going to be an array. If a bulk operation comes back successfully, it always is. So what we can do is say for, really what I can do is say for order in bulk operation.objects, because I know that the only type of node coming back is an order node. It contains fulfillments, but this isn't via a connection. There's no set of edges and set of separate nodes, which means that all we're going to have in this result is a set of orders, as we'll see confirmed in a minute, hopefully, which means I can assume that every single object is an order, which means that I can do this. And for, and here we can do almost identically, or we can use logic that's almost identical to what's happening over here. In fact, it will be so close, I'm going to copy this and paste it. But we need to do this for every single fulfillment in the order. So what we're going to do is say for fulfillment in order.fulfillments. And if there is a tracking number, and we need to adjust what this is called. So it's going to be tracking info.number. Tracking info.number. If there is a tracking number, unless order dot tags, because we have an order object here which has a tags property, and in GraphQL tags are always presented as an array, thankfully. Unless order dot tags contains that tracking number, then we set this thing up. So we're going to restructure this slightly because it's my preference to only perform one mutation per order. And right now, if there are, say, 6 separate fulfillments, all tracking numbers, this would result in 6 different mutations. We can totally bundle those up. So what we're going to do is say assign tags to add equals array. Give some breathing room. We're going to remove this action. And we're going to say assign tags to add and then at the end of this for loop, we will say if tags to add is not empty, then we'll actually run our mutation. We'll fix it for indentation. And we're already in GraphQL territory. We're not moving between REST and GraphQL, so this just becomes order.id. And that might actually be it. So let's close this, let's save this, and let's take a look down below to see about our bulk operation. Yep, it came in. If I click this, we'll see our results. And we'll see that we indeed echoed all of the objects that came back from that bulk operation. Here's an order with an array of fulfillments. Here's an order, here's an order, here's an order, here's an order, and here's an order with those 2 fulfillments. Fulfillment 1 has tracking info of heyu. Fulfillment 2 has a number of this mess right here. That's exactly what I wanted to see. To demonstrate moving between events here, note that this event has a parent of our mechanic user trigger event. This is the thing that we saw a few minutes ago. If I click here, we go back to that bulk operation. Perfect. Manage this task. Okay, cool. I'm feeling pretty good about what this code actually does down here. However, as with our process before, I want to make sure that preview actions are actually generated. And I want to do that in a way that lets me test the task just during preview mode to ensure that it's actually doing the thing that I want it to do. So to do that, I'm going to set up some dummy data for a bulk operation. And I'm going to use this sample right here. In fact, I'm going to use this order object right here. Manage this task. And rather than manually constructing a hash and then filling in attributes, what we're going to do this time is we're borrowing our data from the bulk operation itself. We're only grabbing one order here. And let's fill in some nonsense information. We're going to say it has no tags for the purpose of our test. And we're going to say that it only has one fulfillment for the purposes of this test. Okay, that's our set of objects. I misspoke slightly. We will manually construct that value, but this piece down here, we're going to create by gamma objects, JSON, just like that. Very efficient way to create test data. And now, if I close this, I believe we will see nothing. Cool, so something's not quite right. Let's head down here. And let's actually, I want to be able to see this while I'm working with the task. So let's just move this to the top of the list, why don't we? Maybe to the second part of the list. Huh. Huh. That was fun. Okay, cool. When a bulk operation finishes, we're going to be executing this. So we capture objects JSON, which is all of this. We assign bulk operation to a new hash object. We fill in objects, and yeah, we didn't get anything. So let's start with some debugging. Action echo bulk operation. Okay, so we do have bulk operation objects. Contains an array of orders, which is as it should be. For fulfillment in order.fulfillments, let's do a similar thing here. Action echo fulfillment equals fulfillment. Okay, cool, we have that. How do I do that? Fulfillment.tracking info. Good, dot number. Oh, okay, cool. So that was wrong. Tracking info dot number. Huh. Oh, tracking info is an array. Oh, I did not expect that. Really? Is that how that works? Yeah, tracking info is an array. Okay. I stand corrected. We totally might have more than one tracking number per fulfillment. Fascinating. Cool. So tracking info is an array. Really happy we discovered that. Tracking info, so if I do this, yeah, okay, cool. So what we can do then is, what should we do here? I guess, so we could do two different things. We can just add another for loop inside of this, or we could do something like assign tracking numbers equals fulfillment.tracking info map number. So we could do that and then do something with this array, but it would be annoying to then loop through these tracking numbers to see which of those individually was or was not a part of the order tags already. And because we'd have to add another for loop anyway, I don't think we gain anything by taking that route. So for tracking info, don't love that that's not a plural. For tracking info, awkward as hell. Okay. For tracking info object in this, if the number is not blank, and unless we've been tagged, then we take the number. How are we looking? When bulk operation finishes, we then add, perfect. If I were to add more than one tracking number, it should still work. Yep, perfect. If I were to add more than one fulfillment, it should still work. Perfect. If we were to say that the order already has that tag, perfect. If we were to say that the number is blank, Perfect. If we were to say that we have 2 orders, what then? Comma. We should have then 2 mutations. Yep. One with that, one with that. Perfect. We're in excellent shape. Okay. Great, I'm happy. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna run it again. And while the bulk operation is processing over on Shopify's side, hey, event queue. Cool. All right, looks like we're experiencing a little bit higher load right now. We can do better on mechanics auto scaling. I said that last time. Stay tuned. Okay, while that is happening, I'm gonna head back over here and take a look at our tracking number situation over here. I'm just gonna move this back down to the end again. So when our fulfillments are created and updated, we receive an array of tracking numbers. I'm gonna switch that now that I know that apparently we can actually have more than one set of tracking information per order. So what we're gonna do is something similar, actually. Assign tags to add equals array. So how do I want to do this? And then we'll pull this out in favor of adding to our array. Fix our indentation. Yeah. And the tags need to be tracking, tags to add. Okay, sweet. We've lost our preview actions over here, and that is because we've gone from, wow, there we go. So now we have an array of tracking numbers in our test data. If this is empty, then there should be nothing. If there's more than one, then we should be adding separate tags. If the tag's already in place, then we should adjust accordingly. Perfect. Okay, fantastic. That is in good shape as well, so let's save that. Let's take a look at the fate of our bulk operation. And we didn't do anything because everything has already been appropriately tagged. That's funny. Okay, cool. To test this, let's head over to this demo order. Let's remove this tag. And when we come back, I wonder if we'll see the other tags still in place because there were 2 tracking number tags. Oh, nope, looks like we saved over the other one entirely. Waiting. Cool, Toy is ready to ship. So if I head back over here, Mechanic has this retry feature which is available if a run fails or if it didn't do anything. In this case, it didn't do anything, and so if we were to try it, there's nothing to overwrite. So what I'm going to do is hit retry here. Yes, I wish to retry this. And we will wait because apparently our event queue is running a little bit heavy. I'm going to give this 5 seconds before I move on to something else. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. The other thing we're going to do is hop over to another order and test the other side of the task where it actually responds to fulfillment updates, just to make sure we didn't miss anything there. So I'm going to fulfill whatever is pending on this order, which I will do as soon as it loads. Mark as fulfilled. fulfill. Back over here in mechanic demo, still didn't do anything. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, it didn't do anything because just because I changed data for this order doesn't mean that the objects that came back from the query will have been changed. So we actually do need to rerun the bulk operation entirely in order to handle this situation. So first though, I'm going to make sure this works. So fulfillment was created on an order. We tagged it YOLO12. I don't know where that came from. Head back over here. If I were to update that tracking information, we should see an update come through in a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to run this task. The bulk operation has not been kicked off. I'll head back here. We should see, yep, that our fulfillment was updated, and we have indeed added this. Awesome. I want to try one more thing while we're waiting for a bulk operation to come back. I want to edit this without actually modifying the tracking number, and I want to make sure that it doesn't retag. And we can fulfill this one too, why not? We'll fulfill this one without any tracking information. Head back over here. The fulfillment was created, the fulfillment was updated. This one should give us nothing. Perfect. And that one should, oh. YOLO12, question mark? I wonder what happened here, because I'm pretty sure this one wasn't supposed to do any retagging. Oh, our bulk operation came back, perfect. And we performed 2 taggings. We filled those tags back in over here, and then we tagged this one again. I wonder if Shopify is not allowing us to add tags that have question marks on them. That would be interesting. Is it this one? No. Is this one? Yes. Refresh. Yeah. I'm actually going to leave this as is, I think. This is an interesting question. Shopify tags prohibited characters. I don't want to be in the business of removing or filtering for certain characters because there are a lot of characters. It's not just the English alphabet. Special characters are either ignored or treated as being the same. Interesting. Okay, this is a question that I'm going to punt on. I will just make note in the task documentation that you may get interesting results if your tracking numbers have special characters. Yeah, test documentation. Save. Cool. And we are good to go. If you have any questions, hit me up. Thanks for being here. Have a fantastic day. Cheers.